Let's talk about the banking and financial space though. And this has been a pack that has done quite well in the recent past. In fact, if you look at the time frame from September onwards to March, you have an outperformance of the Nifty Bank and Finserv over the Nifty 50. How should you look at this, and what are the reasons for that outperformance? Harsh is joining in to give you some context. Harsh?
Well, absolutely. What you're seeing is an outperformance. Now, two questions we're asking. One is whether this outperformance can actually sustain, and why this outperformance, and what's driving this outperformance. So basically, these two is what we're going to try to address. First off, how much has the outperformance been? And in that sense, we've seen a decent-ish outperformance. Look at where the Nifty is. It's down 10%. Nifty Bank down just about 4 in comparison. And the Nifty Financial Services absolutely flat. So the outperformance is quite stark when you're looking at it from 1st of October all the way up until now. So that's the first parameter. Now let's talk about stocks and which ones have actually stood out. And here we're talking since September. Look at the outperformance of some of the Nifty 50 counters. Kotak is up 16% since September, comprises nearly 3% of the Nifty. HDFC Bank up 4% when Nifty hasn't had a great run, and ICICI Bank up 3%. These are heavyweights, mind you. Combined, nearly 20+% of the Nifty. When you're combining all these three, nearly 25% of the Nifty within these three stocks, which have shown real good resilience. Now let's talk about March, because that's where it's really beginning to pick up in terms of the way in which we're seeing returns. Look at the gains that we've seen in March for some of these counters, and PSU banks in particular starting to gain traction in the month of March. We roll the graphic forward, we'll see more names where we are seeing good traction across the board. The heavyweight HDFC has done 5% month to date in March as well. So some names that are really standing out. Now, let's talk about the valuation picture, because this is where this is the primary reason why we've seen the outperformance. The Nifty Bank has traded at a discount to its 5-year averages, and let's talk about that. The 5-year average price to earnings, and we'll talk about price to earnings first, thereafter take specifics on price to book. The price to earnings has been 19, whereas the Nifty Bank currently trades at 13 and was trading around that range itself, maybe between the 13 to 14 times range, even in the month of October. So this discount has been 30% now for a while. And when you're comparing it to the Nifty 50 as well, just look at the differential. 22 times is where the Nifty 50 index is, and the Nifty Bank is at 13. That hasn't been the case over the last 5 years. The graph is just widened, and we'll talk about this in the next graphic. The differential between, in terms of price to earnings, is the largest. Nifty Bank versus Nifty 50. Let's pull up that graph, and we'll see that it's currently at 9 in terms of the differential, the absolute PE differential between the Nifty 50 and the Nifty Bank. But well, one can argue that PE is not the best metric for the Nifty Bank. So what we've tried to also do is try to pull up price to book value versus 5-year averages. Let's pull those up, and you look at the discount rates here. IndusInd 59%. Now there may be a one-off there, but let's look at the others maybe. AU 51, Kotak 34, Axis 27. So some real large discounts that are getting built in. Let's also talk about what is possibly going to continue in terms of outperformance. What are the factors? FI is making a comeback, could well be a positive. Liquidity push by the RBI, repo rate cuts on the anvil. We're also talking about easing regulatory restrictions coming through on specific counters, growth making a comeback in the system, GDP growth, and valuations continue to be at a discount, which we've just spoken about. Let's last off talk about what analysts believe in terms of upside. IndusInd, again, an outlier there. If we exclude that as well, very, very decent upside on some PSU banking names. Bob, PNB, SBI, some of the favorites with regard to where analysts is concerned. Axis has 17%. HDFC, ICICI, just about a 10 to 12% upside is what analysts see. Kotak actually has a 4% downside. So after this kind of outperformance, you might well see Kotak not do so well as per analyst estimates.